Okay, so you compare yourself to other pianists. Don't worry, this is something we all do. I've been playing the piano for like 20 years. I still do this. It's really hard not to, right? Because you're scrolling through social media or YouTube and you just see some of the best pianists at your very fingertips at all times, right? So it's really hard not to compare yourself. Anyway, I want to share with you 2 practical things that you can do to kind of, flip the script on this whole comparison game, okay? The first thing that you can do is to compare yourself to yourself. Now, this is actually a very effective thing that you can do for your own practice journey as well. And I'm going to explain that now, right? So, comparison is the thief of joy. Why is that? Because when you are comparing your own skills to somebody else over there, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's very unfair to yourself and your own journey, right? Because that person could have started the piano when they were like 2, and meanwhile you started when you were like 15 or 16 or something, right? So it's just completely unfair. But when you compare yourself to where you were in the past, you can actually use that as an anchor point to your own ability, and you can use that to see how you're progressing in your own piano journey and in your own ability. And you can actually use that to refine your piano practice, to work on your weaknesses, and even make more improvements and more progress. Okay, so what do I mean? Well, what you need to do is you need to film and record yourself playing a particular piece of music or jamming out, improvising on a particular chord progression you love, right? So I want you to actually do this now, maybe pause the video or do this once the video is finished. Just set up your camera and just record yourself playing your favorite piece, right? And then you can constantly come back to that, right? And you can assess your abilities based on that. Now, I want to give you a practical example from my own piano journey. So over the past year, I've really been working on my jazz piano language, okay? So it's this kind of stuff, right? Okay, so being able to speak that language. So what I do is I have a particular tune that I constantly come back to about once a week to assess how I'm going with integrating the things that I've been practicing, right? So it's kind of like a test, an assessment of my skills. The tune is Have You Met Miss Jones? It kind of goes like this. Okay, so I love this particular chord progression, and it's a really great way to assess, how I'm going with my practice. So I'll just kind of run that progression and I'll just jam out and improvise, and I'll use that as a way to see like, okay, how's my language actually integrating into my playing? Right? And yeah, so you can have a particular tune that you constantly come back to, and you can assess certain parts of your playing. Like you can assess your articulation, your timing, your tempo, your groove in your pocket, your language. I mean, there are so many different things that you can assess in your piano playing, right? But it's always good to have a particular passage of music, a piece of music, or a chord progression that you constantly come back to assess yourself on, right? And then if you want to take it to the next level, you can film and record yourself once a week or once a month, and then put that side by side to your recordings from the past. And then you can actively see, okay, how am I improving? So you're comparing yourself, but you're not just comparing yourself, you're actually assessing your weaknesses, right? So you're noticing the things that you're still weak at, and then you're using that to really hone your practice and, work on those weaknesses. And then you're going to develop a very robust ability and technique when it comes to the piano. Okay, so the second idea I wanted to talk about in this video is that when you catch yourself comparing yourself to somebody else, you want to actually use this as an opportunity to do some inner work on your mindset, okay? So, for example, let's say you're scrolling through Instagram and you see an incredible pianist ripping it up on the piano. You need to be aware of the thoughts that come up in that moment. For example, if you sit there and think, gosh, I'll never be as good as this guy. I'll never get on this guy's level. I just don't know how to get that good. if these are the kinds of thoughts that you're having, then that's a really good indicator as to where your mindset is, right? And these thoughts are actually very limiting, right? That you're establishing and installing limiting beliefs into your mind. You're telling yourself that you can never be as good as this guy, that no matter what you do, you can never get on this guy's level. And so that's actually holding you back, right? Because what it's doing is it's having your mind focusing on the things that you don't have. It's developing a lack mindset rather than an abundance mindset. Okay, that's all good and well, but how can we actually, make this practical? Well, what you can do is you can actually flip the script. So if you have a thought that says, I will never be as good as this guy, no, catch that thought and be like, wait, why can I never be as good as this guy? Of course I can, he's a human being. I'm a human being too. So why can't I be as good as that guy? So you can actually use it as fuel and motivation for your own journey, right? And then what you want to do is you want to actually go to the piano and then just jam out, play your favorite piece of music and just have a great time on the piano. So for example, if this happened to me, if I saw someone ripping it up and I started feeling bad about myself, I'd be like, no way. Let me go to the piano right now. So I'll just jam. Right? And the whole idea is that you want to have a really good time. Just jam out, have a good time. And as you're doing that, you want to tell yourself positive thoughts like, yeah, I can play. I am good at the piano. I love the piano. I am making progress. These kinds of positive affirmations, you know what I mean? Because then that's actually developing this kind of abundance mindset, okay? By the way, if you like how I talk about the piano, then you're going to love UtK Keyboard Pro, especially the new update that I'm working on. So I'm working on the mindset mastery update, okay? And so I'm actually creating a whole course on mindset because I honestly think it's like one of the most important things when it comes to actually practicing and playing the piano and music long term. If you don't have a good mindset, honestly, and you encounter some challenges, you're cooked if you don't have a good mindset, right? So mindset is so important, right? And so if you resonate with this kind of stuff, yeah, we're gonna really build that into UtK Keyboard Pro in the next few months. So definitely check that out. It's a top link below. And if you want to speed run the journey, I also do one-on-one coaching. That's the second link. Okay, that's it for this video. I really hope that these ideas are helpful to you. Good luck on your piano journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.